Baby, it's cold out there. How cold was it? I went outside this morning and started singing a song. Before those words even left my mouth, they'd frozen, tinkled to the ground. Had to go and thaw 'em out to hear what I was singing about. Well, it's been snowing off and on. I'm sort of stuck at home. I figured it might be a good time for a story. Well, there is maybe a story about a warm time might be better because it's cold. Well, my name is Uncle Tommy. It's a good name. You won't confuse me with your Aunt Tommy, I don't think. I was working up in northern tier Pennsylvania out building state parks one time. I'd rented myself a little cabina there in one of the parks, and I stayed there Monday through Thursday, and then I'd go home for the weekends. Worked out pretty good. But one Thursday night, well, the storm come up. I don't remember if it was a hurricane in June or maybe it was just the melting snow, something like that. In any case, the bridge between where I was living and where I was working or my home was, well, it was just underwater. I couldn't go nowhere. And normally the water would go down in a day or two, but it didn't. And I run out of food and I was getting hungry. So I decided I'd walk up through the hills there and see maybe if I couldn't forage up a little bit something to eat. Now, you're not necessarily going to get a lot of good stuff to eat when you go out in the woods at any given time of the year. So I learned a secret. You make rock soup. That's a little piece of rock there from a railroad bed. Yeah, let's just see there. Yeah, there you go. See a nice tight grain. Well, you take that and you put it in a pot of water, about 6 quarts or 6 quarts of water. A little bit of salt. Garlic's always good. If you can get ramps, that makes real good soup too. And you go out and forage what you can. Berries would work, there. If you could find some meat, that's fine. Do it at a folk festival too. And people say, "What are you doing?" I said, "Making rock soup." That don't sound too good. Well, they say, "Yeah, here. Yeah, just try this little bit of salami and there's some nice sausage, Ooh, I have some fresh wild asparagus. Wild asparagus, now that's something to go find for your rock soup." Mm-mm. So anyway, as I was saying, I'm wandering through the woods, and just didn't see much of anything. It's berries weren't in season, it's nothing much. I could get some hickory bark, I suppose, but that isn't very tasty even in rock soup. And it's getting towards dark, and I was about ready to head back to the cabin when I saw there in the trail in front of me a toe. It wasn't just a toe. It was a big toe. It was a big green toe. It was a big green hairy toe. I looked around. Nobody was around. So I went and I picked it up and I put it in my bag. Took it back to the cabin. Put on a pot of water to boil, a little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic, and I put in that big toe. Anything else I had, I threw in the soup. I let it simmer. Simmer and simmer. Now, I don't like to boil my soup. I like to bring it up below boiling temperature. Much better food value. So it took a while for it to cook up. It's better the second day than the first day. And when it was ready, I brought this big bowl out, set it on in front of me. I just ladled out some of that beautiful rock soup. Made sure I got that big green hairy toe in there too. Started eating it. Didn't taste bad. And then I got a little bit adventuresome. I had some of that green. That green toe didn't taste very good at all, I'll tell you. Well, I managed to get it down, and I went to bed. Figured I'd just take a little nap there and see what the morrow brought. That night, the wind came up. You could hear it howling through the trees and hollers. Ooh. Oh. Who's got my toe? Ooh. Who's got my toe? Well, that was sort of scary, I'll tell you, but the wind just kept howling, and, well, pretty soon I could hear it. It sounded like it was getting closer, it's sort of, the wind's always around you. Of course it's close. Who's got my toe? Who's got my big green toe? I'm starting to get a little worried now, and I hear the door creak open. Boom! Uh-oh. Who's got? I put my head underneath the pillows and the covers here. I was scared, I'll tell you. I could hear this voice just sort of getting closer and closer. Who's got my toe? Who's got my big green toe? Well, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was shivering and shaking in my boots. It was something fierce. And I heard the door open. Who's got my toe? You!